It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 4 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Monday edition of The Drive with Q, as always. I'm your host, Rich Quinones, and of course, mi hermano, Angel Martinez, behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the airs. We're coming at you live inside the friendly confines of SR 102.9 FM The Game, part of the Coastal Sports Network on this 11th of November 2024. Don't forget the 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in sports talk. Bring something to the table. 60 to play. We'll take you up to 5-ish or so on this Monday. First and foremost, happy Veterans Day to all those men and women that have served and are serving and will serve this great country of ours. Appreciate your service. You make what I'm doing available and possible. So first and foremost, I appreciate that. We would like to give thanks to you. Where I don't want to give thanks is where I'm starting this Monday with football teams, as week 10 is about to be in the books after tonight's contest, Monday Night Football, which we'll get into. But I want to start because, oh, how I've missed my audience. I want to start. First of all, we don't even have to worry about the Yankees, right? We don't even have to worry about the Knicks are struggling, the Yankees World Series. You guys want to come in hot and heavy on a man up Monday. I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that. But I do need to address the two teams in the great city of New York. And let me start with, we always like to do the good, the bad, and the ugly on the show. There's no good, there's no bad, and it was just flat out ugly. So here's your news flash first with the New York Jets. I told you this in August. I said this last year. Aaron Rodgers is cooked. Aaron Rodgers is washed. Robert Saleh is just counting his money, laughing every single day, living his best life, being his best Robert Saleh, because he sees the debacle that is the New York Jets. And I called this on Friday's edition of Back Your Play with the prop. We loved Arizona outright. The Jets are your perfect example of an NFL franchise that decided to sell their soul to the devil for one season. They thought they were going to get a couple. But Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 offensive series and snaps into the season last year on that Monday night game against Buffalo. Doesn't come back, teases the fan base, talks about the Achilles, talked about, on the men, and he's going to be back. And he just dangled that carrot in front of the Jet fan base. Never happened. So 5 games in, what do the Jets do this year? They decide they need to make a change. And who's going to be the culprit? Who's going to be the fall guy? It's going to be Robert Saleh. Got to get rid of him. Got to figure out a different plan of attack. It's pretty evident the interim head coach is not suited to be a head coach in the NFL. We know that. You know that. I know that. He knows that. But it was such a knee-jerk reaction. You shouldn't have brought the guy back after last season. It was such a knee-jerk reaction from Woody and Christopher Johnson. And now you look at this team and everyone's talking about, hey, they're going to make the playoffs. I went on record. One of my bold predictions was this team will not make the playoffs, and I got hammered for it. So they beat the Texans, who had no offensive players last week. And then they come back and they proceed to not only get run over all over by Arizona. Murray looks like a Hall of Fame quarterback. And they put up a lousy friggin' 6 points, and the quarterback who won it, the head coach gone. The quarterback who won it, Mike Williams gone. Oh, by the way, Mike Williams, we'll get to him a little later on in the show because evidently he didn't like Aaron Rodgers. You get rid of Mike Williams. You get rid of the head coach. You bring in your own guys, your coordinators. You make the move for Davante Adams, and then you proceed to put up 6 friggin' points against Arizona in a game you had to have, and your quarterback doesn't even crack 160 yards passing. Folks, Aaron Rodgers is done. He's shot. Aaron Rodgers is not even a good quarterback anymore. And I feel as though it's so hard for some of the Jet fan. It's so hard for some of the football fans to kind of acknowledge, by the way, this is what freaking karma is. This is karma. because you go out and you basically are calling the shots. That's exactly what Aaron Rodgers is doing. That's exactly what Aaron Rodgers wanted to do. That's exactly who Aaron Rodgers is. And now you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. And at this point, it's laughable. It's laughable because it's not even a product to watch. It's not even a good product. It's a bad product. They gave up 147 yards on the ground yesterday. They couldn't even run the football. Aaron Rodgers' average yards per pass was 4.3. They're 3-7. They're cooked. They're done. They're washed. It's over. It's over if you are a Jet fan. It's over if you are an Aaron Rodgers fan. It's done. But now you got that situation. Well, what the hell? Where do we go from here? It's a disgrace. I mean, you can't look at this football team anymore with all the fanfare and the players that they brought in and say, hey, this is unacceptable. How do you not say it's unacceptable? It's an embarrassment. They are such a piss poor product right now. They're unwatchable. And by the way, they're not the only team because their other team, their little brother, big brother in New York, which I'm going to get to in a moment, worse. But this experiment has failed. Has failed. Rodgers is a shot QB. He is washed. And it's just a rough, hard lesson to learn in the sports world. When you decide to just go all in and dance with the devil, sometimes it's better to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And they sold their soul, the Jets did. This experiment has failed. He is a shot quarterback. He's a shot quarterback. And they're probably going to shut him down. It's going to end poorly. At least when they had Brett Favre, they were 8-3 before he had the noodle arm and they beat Tennessee and everyone was raving about them years ago. This is not even it. This is why sometimes in the NFL, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. So you have the nonsense that is the Jets. And then the other reason I tell you guys, I can't even stomach the Giants anymore. I can't even stomach how bad this team is. They're not even bad. They're an embarrassment. The Giants right now, my Giants, are an absolute, they're a disgrace. They are a joke, a disgrace. They are gutless. They are a franchise. They are a franchise that has lost its way. It is sad to see how poorly this franchise is run. And it's also disheartening to see how poorly the product is that they're putting out there. I mean, they're a joke. I mean, seriously, I'm at a loss for words. I mean, I really have no more words to describe this because, you guys, you get on me when I joke and I'm like, it's a Sunday, go fishing, do something better with your time, enjoy your time. Don't buy tickets. Don't buy merchandise. Don't support this team. Don't spend your Sunday morning, afternoon, or night in rare occasions. But yesterday was a Sunday morning and get up and make your coffee and get your newspaper and watch your pregame and then watch the kind of crap that's been put out there week after week, year after year. It never friggin' ends. It never ends. And yesterday, I was happy this team lost. I knew this team was going to lose. I had no preconceived notion that this team was going to go to Germany and give me any type of friggin' effort. And what did they do yesterday? They fall behind by what, 10? To the Carolina friggin' Panthers? You're down 10-0, and then you come roaring back, right? Daniel Jones is a shot quarterback. He's seeing ghost. He has no feel for the game. He should have been benched at the half. And then you get it all the way back. And by the way, Gano misses another field goal. Neighbors is dropping passes. Jones not reading anything. The run defense got gashed for $150. What was it? $160, $170, $188. The kid, Chuba Hubbard, looked like Jim Brown back there running for $163 after he had a contract extension, new contract. Congratulations to him. Bryce Young not making mistakes, slinging it. Looking like Montana at times, putting the ball where it needed to be, a young quarterback playing with confidence. And then you get the game in overtime, and what happens? Tracy fumbles. It's so Giant-esque. But that's not even why I'm aggravated today. It's because this is now going on a decade plus of absolutely horrible, pathetic football. And again, there are teams in the NFL, which we will get to in a couple moments. There are teams in the NFL that will make business decisions. There are teams in the NFL that are mailing it in. There are teams in the NFL that just don't care anymore. Just don't care anymore. And yet you're going to tell me, buy merchandise, go to games, support the teams, buy tickets, invest my time. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Daniel Jones should have been benched yesterday. And you've got John Mara, who's third generation of his family, right? Ownership of the Giants. His grandfather, Tim, founded the team in 1925. His sons, Wellington and Jack, which is John's uncle, they inherit the team in 1959, I believe, when Tim passed away. Wellington Mara, John Mara, is not. Wellington Mara was a gentleman. He understood how to run a franchise. John Mara has no freaking clue what the hell he's doing. He kept Dave Gettleman too long. Jerry Reese, Dave Gettleman, throughout that 4-year tender, hiring and firing coaches. They shoved out Tom Coughlin. That's when the franchise went to shit. And you bring in a guy like Ben McAdoo. Then you bring in a guy like Pat Shermer. Then you hire Joe Judge. Now you made a mistake with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, a head coach and GM that should be fired, by the way. They should be fired. If I went on the record last week and saying if this team loses in Germany, you better get rid of the head coach and the GM, I'm not going to change my tune on a Monday after they lost to the Panthers in Germany. It's embarrassing. You cannot keep putting out the same garbage product and expect the fans to be in. Expect the faithful, loyal fans, generational fans, by the way, generational fans to buy into the, for what? When we know it's not even at this point with the whole Daniel Jones or what are they going to, I'm over it. I'm over it. Go out and lose every game. Go 2-15. Get the number 1 draft pick. You want to trade off that pick for assets? Go ahead. You want to bring back a veteran for 1 year and then try to get Arch Manning in another year or so? Go whatever. Change it. Do something. Am I supposed to sit here and believe that this head coach can't see the quarterback can't play? Or is this head coach a dummy? And I don't like to use that word. Is this head coach stubborn where he wants to show Daniel Jones maybe can play? Or is he a genius and he's throwing Daniel Jones out there to show that Daniel Jones is a liability? Or is John Mara putting pressure on this head coach saying, no, stand down and you will continue to start him? How in the world do you not bench this guy? And now you have to at 2-8 because you have concerns if he gets injured and you got to pay out an injury settlement if he can't pass a physical in March. But enough is enough. This team is worse than the team that went 3-13 and which really just crawled up my you-know-what that year because that's the same friggin' year the Giants had one of their worst seasons ever in franchise history and the friggin' Eagles won the Super Bowl. So you want to talk about kissing your sister in the dark. It was a friggin', it was a debacle that season. And now look what we're getting. It's just horrible football, man. I don't need to hear Malik Neighbors. Shut up. You've had a cup of coffee in the NFL. You drop passes. Shut up. We don't need to hear about how you're open. You know, all of a sudden Lawrence is saying what he's saying about the head coach and, you know, not the message falling on. When the message falls on deaf ears in the NFL and players are not responding and the message is not resonating, coaches get fired. That's exactly what happens. Coaches get fired. They cannot withstand that. They can't. And I got to sit here on Thursday of Thanksgiving at 4:30 and try to eat turkey and try to have a little pumpkin pie. And I got to watch the Giants with Tommy Cutlets or friggin' throw out Danny DeVito. I don't give a shit. Or Drew Lock against who? Trey Lance? Cooper Rush? You're going to shove that down my throat. I wish the NFL can step in and stop that nonsense. They can't flex that game. That's a scheduling nightmare. It's Thursday. It's Thanksgiving. Enjoy it. Drink up, boys. Drink up. Drink up. Enjoy it on Thursday. Drink early because by 4:30, whatever the hell that is, tryptophan, trypty, whatever the hell goes in your system in Thanksgiving, it should put you to sleep. You got to watch this nonsense. It's a disgrace. I don't care if you lose. I don't care if you lose. But this is insanity. You know it. Everyone tuning in right now, think about this. If you're doing the same crap every day and you expect a different result, is that not the definition of insanity? So please, somebody reel me in. Talk me off the bridge. How in the world do you keep throwing the same players out there? And by the way, it's just not with the Giants. We're seeing it across the board in the NFL with some of these coaches. Are they that stubborn? Are they that stubborn? Is the ego that big where they can't see it was a mistake? Do these owners in the NFL, do they never look in the mirror and say to themselves, we made a mistake. It was a bad draft pick. It was a bad hire. No, they don't. They don't. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd to watch this nonsense and garbage week after week after week. And I got to sit here and be a friggin' fan? And I got to get my balls broke if I'm not going to sit on a Sunday and watch a shit of an organization? Horrible friggin' football? Are you kidding me? They didn't show up against Minnesota. They didn't have a kicker against Washington. They beat a piss-poor Cleveland team. Couldn't do anything offensively against Dallas. All right, pulled off a nice win against Seattle. Again, no play calling in Cincinnati. Didn't show up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chased points against Pittsburgh. Didn't show up late against Washington. And then it was a no-show yesterday. That's the team that I'm supposed to sit here and invest my time in as a Giant fan. Get the hell out of here. No. Lose out. Lose out. I'm done. Lose out. Get rid of the friggin' quarterback, get rid of the head coach, and get rid of the GM. And the owner needs to sell the team. But that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And by the way, this is par from the course in the NFL. Look what happened yesterday in Dallas. That franchise is a joke. And what did the Eagles do? They proceeded to go on the road and just beat the snot out of the Dallas Cowboys. You got an owner in Jerry Jones that's worried about the sun coming through the stadium. That's his biggest concern. Not the fact that you paid a quarterback hundreds of millions of dollars that can't win a friggin' playoff game and you have to sit him on the IR. Not the fact that your biggest offseason move was a washed running back who decides I'm not going to show up in meetings. I mean, you got it all over the place in the NFL. It is absurd how some of these owners never hold themselves accountable. These head coaches never hold the players accountable. The players never hold themselves accountable. It's the blame game. It's the blame game. Pass was too high. Pass was too low. I should have got chipped. I needed to get double teamed. I should have got over the top safety help. Well, we're chasing points. We're going for two. We're not going for two. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I got to watch that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Giants. They're down 14 and they score a touchdown. You're going to go for two? Do the math. You're going to keep chasing points. You know, Sirianni, I get on him. I think he's a clown. But at least the guy's winning as a head football coach. You can't deny it. He's got like a 683 winning percentage in his career. And right now, the team that I thought was not even going to sniff the playoffs, the Philadelphia Eagles, they look like a serious Super Bowl contender. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here with my freaking giant mini doll and my you-know-what, thinking about how, once again, this team's season was done before Halloween. Which is every season. Which is every season now. Every season. Every season. So you got the Jets selling their soul for Aaron Rodgers, which blew up in their face. And you have who the hell's running the show with the Giants? Because it stinks from top to bottom. It stinks. I'd rather that coach get fired and then come out and say, I didn't want to start the kid anymore. And the other thing with Brian Daboll, and this really bugs the hell out of me. It really does. Well, you know what? I'll get to it on the other side. I'll get to it on the other side because I know we got to hit a timeout. But I'm going to get to this on the other side. And by the way, there are teams right now in the NFL mailing it in. And when I say mailing it in, it's so obvious. It is so obvious. I don't like to use the word tank, but there's been some really bad football. Kansas City remains undefeated. We love Denver on the money line. Friday's edition of BYP. We gave you some good plays if you tune into my YouTube channel, if you subscribe to the channel and check out the show, which is also on SR 1029 FM, The Game. Eagles looked really good. Giants and Jets spit the bit. The Bears definitely are going to be making a change sooner rather than later. Buffalo, the Lions last night, Jared Goff throws for 5 picks and they win the football game. That is the sign of a really good football team. The Giants, the Jets, Jacksonville, Carolina, Indianapolis, they're not good enough to overcome those types of mistakes. So we'll get into it. We'll go around the league as well. 22 past the 4 o'clock hour, just cranking up on a Monday edition of The Drive with Q. Rich Quinones here. Mi hermano Angel Martinez behind the glass producing the show. We'll take you up to 5 o'clock. Good to be back in the saddle. You guys want to get in on the conversation, you can always text in. If you would like to, we would love to hear from you as well. 727-858-6650. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
Bumper Guy knows how to calm me down. 727-858-6650. He's always there when I need him. So let me make another point here. Enough of, speaking of the Giants, enough of watching this friggin' head coach pace to sidelines and look pissed off. Yo, my man, Brian Daboll, you're the one who won't bench him. Stop getting so pissed off at every miss or just bench him already. Like, enough. Stop showing up the quarterback. We know he can't play. We understand that. How in the hell in the world did this kid go on the road and look like a Hall of Fame quarterback and account for close to 400 yards and win a playoff game on the road against Minnesota? I don't get it. I don't get it. I've never seen quarterbacks regress like this before. You're talking about, look, perfect example. I tweeted this out. In in a perfect world, Jets, Giants, Bears, Jacksonville, you're a head coaching candidate. You're an ideal head coaching candidate. What's the best landing spot? Because the Jets are going to need a new head coach. Doug Peterson's gone with Jacksonville. It's just evident. It really is. Trevor Lawrence does not look like he's the answer. And right now, Tankathon has the Jags and the Giants 1-2 in the draft. So have fun with that down there in Florida and up here in the Northeast. And then you got the Bears, good football town. They've got some players. But what concerns me is Caleb Williams looked good for 3 games. Now he's regressed. And then you have the Jets. So what's the best landing spot? Because there are going to be openings there. But you look around the NFL yesterday, and what did you see? You saw shoddy tackling. You saw boneheaded plays. You saw horrible head coaching plays. All we talk about is analytics. Analytics. At least with Sirianni, you know exactly what you're getting. And I know you guys were flipping out, and I get it. I see both sides of it, right? Having the feel for the game, taking the points, not taking the points. But I don't understand if you do the math and you're down 14 points in a football game and your offense struggles to score. And when I say struggles to score, it's they have to fight so hard to pick up yardage. Case in point, 2 weeks ago, Giants, Pittsburgh. And I have to use it as an example so you guys understand where I'm coming at. This is a 23-9 game. So the Giants are 14 points down. They get a touchdown. They go for 2. Makes no friggin' sense. Now it's 23-15. Pittsburgh comes back with a field goal. It's 26-15. The Giants come back with a field goal. It's 26-18. Okay, fine. You're down again by 1. You have a chance. Now, think about this. If you just played it the smart way, 23-9, 23-16 with the extra point, 23-19, 23-22, now you just need a field goal to win the game. That's it. You don't need a touchdown, even though in this case, you had a field goal by Pittsburgh. It makes no sense. And that's what these coaches are doing. We saw it across the board. I mean, listen, Pittsburgh, that play yesterday by Tomlin to go for, the special teams when they faked the punt, that was a stupid call by Danny Smith, who's a real good special teams coach. That was a stupid play. And it didn't work out, but you still need to catch the ball. I'm still not calling that play. We saw it, what was it, in the Buffalo game? We've seen those kind of plays. We saw it in Detroit because they're going to be aggressive. They're always going for it on 4th down. We've seen the Eagles and Sirianni. Like sometimes you overthink, you overanalyze. And then what happens is you don't understand the feel for the game. So point being, with some of these head coaches who cannot, under any circumstances, okay? Again, any circumstances, when you are chasing points, it's not good. Okay? It's just not good. You have to be smart. And if your offense is scratching and clawing and you finally methodically get down the field and you score a touchdown, all of a sudden you want to go for 2, you're zapping your offense, man. You're zapping your offense. Stop chasing points. But the analytics, the geeks, the nerds, the analytical heads will say, well, this is your best percent. It's not always the case. It's not always the case. Indianapolis, it bit him in the ass a couple weeks ago. It did. How about this? Yesterday in the Chiefs game, and the Chiefs, to their credit, they got to win. They blocked a field goal. You feel for Denver. Denver played their guts out. They really played well. Bo Nix looks like he can play a little bit. They couldn't run the ball because it's tough to run against Kansas City. Mahomes made the plays when he had to, but there was a moment in that game where Andy Reid typically will go for it. Andy Reid is a very aggressive head coach because he knows he has the personnel. He trusts his personnel. And again, little surprised, right? Because, if you think about it, they had a 4th and goal from the Denver 2, and he typically will go for that. He didn't, and that was late in the game. And if they get that touchdown, they don't have to worry about Denver going down the field and trying to kick a game-winning field goal. So it actually helped out. It helped out Kansas City in the end, not the bettors that had the game. But point being is, we talk about analytics. There's a place and a time for analytics in the NFL. And I believe some of these coaches and some of these OCs, they have these brain locks during these games. Like, stop chasing points early on. It makes you're just putting more pressure. The percentage is so low. If I have to not only get two possessions and get 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions, percentage is low. I don't care if you're the 1999 Rams or the 2007 Pats. The percentages are low that I'm going to be able to convert both of those, just like onside kicks. It's beyond rare. It's like an aberration. It's beyond rare. McDaniel in Miami, aggressive. Andy Reid, aggressive. Sirianni, aggressive. Campbell, aggressive. And then you have coaches that are not aggressive. Brian Daboll was an aggressive coach the first year. Go for it on the road for 2 against Tennessee. Where's that guy? He no longer exists because he doesn't trust his quarterback. But here's the thing. Yesterday, you're running the football. Here's another perfect example. And please, explain this to me. Because it just doesn't make sense. You're running the football. You're chewing up clock. You're running the football 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. Those are pretty good percentages, right? I'm going to convert second down. I'm going to convert a third down. That's what you want. That's what you look for. But what happens yesterday? Again, it is a 17-14 game. Okay? 17-14 game. And they're moving. And what do they do on a 2nd and 1? Instead of running it, they try to draw up a flea flicker that gets blown up. That makes no sense. Some of these coaches are not good coaching material. They're just not. And these teams that I mentioned that are all of a sudden making these business decisions, listen, the Bears, mark my words right now, even from a gambling standpoint, you might want to lean the Bears. The Bears are shot. They're done. The Bears might not win another game this season. They might not win another game. They have the Packers coming up. The Packers coming up. Minnesota, Detroit, the 49ers, the Vikings, the Lions, Seattle, and the Packers. Where's a win? Where's a win? And that team actually looked like a nice story. 4-2. All of a sudden, though, this is a perfect example. Eagles fans will remember this because to this day, I still think the Giants got hosed. They got 1 extra second on the clock. When Jake Elliott kicked that 60-yard field goal, and that basically sprungboard the Eagles. That was their turning point of the season. Giants never recovered. When Chicago gave up that Hail Mary to Washington, they're not going to recover. They're done. They're dead man walking. And Williams has regressed. So Eberflus is going to be out of a job. So that's one team that's mailing in. Jacksonville, and I know that Lawrence is banged up, that's another team that's mailing in, and that's going to cost Doug Peterson his job. And he didn't help his cause earlier in the season where he basically put it on the players. You can't do that. You call them out behind closed doors. But that team is done. They have 0 offense. They've dropped 3 straight, 4 or 5. How in the hell in the world did they beat the Patriots, who all of a sudden are playing, hard-nosed football? I don't know. So they're mailing it in. The Colts keep trotting out Flacco. They're mailing it in. The Giants are mailing it in. The Dallas Cowboys are mailing it in. Mike McCarthy should not have been retained, and they shouldn't have gave Dak that kind of money. But it always goes back to what we started the show with. These owners. It is so easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, it's all on Daniel Jones. Majority of it, he's just not a good quarterback. He had 1 decent season. Well, his rookie season wasn't bad. And then a couple years ago when they made the playoffs, he played well. But overall, after 6 years, if you don't get it now, man, you're never going to get it. But the owner hires the GM. GM has a say in the head coach. Owner signs off on it. You construct the roster. You do your drafting. It was a stretch with Gettleman for Saquon Barkley. You don't draft a quarterback. I'm sorry. You don't draft a running back number 2. You don't draft a running back in top 5. It was in reach. Daniel Jones projected second round, and they took him at 6. Thibodeau can't stay on the field, right? So these are moves that when you make these moves, all right, we're going to go in a different direction. We're seeing what's going on in Buffalo. Well, any idiot can realize that Buffalo has a great quarterback in Josh Allen. He's a Hall of Fame talent. Any head coach and coordinator are going to look brilliant with Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or a prime Aaron Rodgers, right? So we're going to pluck these 2 guys and we're going to insert them here. What some of these teams are trying to do is we are trying to squeeze a round peg in a square hole, and it doesn't, or a round peg in a square hole. Yeah, that makes sense. Is that correct, Angel? Is that the saying? Square peg in a round hole? I feel as though round hole. Yeah, that makes sense. Square peg in a round hole. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Incredible Shringer Hermano chiming in. So, yeah, we just had to make sure that was right. Sometimes, we butcher some things and it's not working. It's like that puzzle piece that you think will fit. So what do? You go to ghetto route. You just clip it, you snip it, and you mash it in there to think it's going to fit. That's what these teams are doing. That's what these GMs are doing. And explain to me in a world where Daniel Jones can have 60-something odd starts, but we're going to pull the plug on Bryce Young. We're going to pull the plug on Anthony Richardson after a handful of games. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. Coaching matters in the NFL. It matters. And chemistry matters. This is a perfect example. Aaron Rodgers could not wait. Okay? He could not wait to get Mike Williams cut release. What does Mike Williams do? He goes to Pittsburgh. He has a great catch yesterday over the shoulders. Who, oh, by the way, the ball's thrown by a quarterback that I thought was just going to sit and marinate in Russ Wilson. And now all of a sudden, Russ Wilson might be the comeback player of the year. That decision by Tomlin, he now looks like a genius because I crushed him. He looks like a genius right now. We're going to win some games with Fields first, but we got Russell Wilson in the bullpen, and here we go. Russell Wilson slinging it. And now he might be comeback player of the year. And Washington got a little humbled yesterday. I think Washington's going to learn it's very hard to win week in and week out in the NFL. I still believe that Cincinnati and that Ravens game was a great game Thursday night. Again, the officiating is horrible in the league. You feel bad for Cincinnati. 2-point conversion. That tight end was absolutely mugged. It happens. It's the NFL. You have to overcome it. But yesterday, we saw the teams that are really good step up. Listen, Tampa Bay is 4-6. Tampa Bay's season is spiraling out of control. Okay? They were 4-2, and they had that big comeback against the Ravens. It failed. They lost to the Falcons. They lost close to the Chiefs, and then they lost to the 49ers on a last-second field goal. Even though their record is 4-6, they don't play like a 4-16. Baker Mayfield, man, if you don't, that fourth down conversion where he's stiff-arming players, I think it was Bosa, and he's fighting and scratching and clawing, you want that. And I know Gas Pump Guy doesn't want to hear this. I know they're 4-6, and he's a Bucs fan. They're probably going to miss the playoffs, but at least they know what they have. They lost 2 stud wide receivers, but their quarterback is playing tough, hard football. He's trying to will them to win. And that inspires people. That inspires your teammates. I'm not seeing that with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not seeing that with Daniel Jones. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not inspiring anyone. He's all about me, me, me. He's too busy throwing everyone under the bus. He's too busy saying, these are not the cards that I've been dealt. Give me the cards that I want. It doesn't work like that in sports. It doesn't work like that in life. You play the hand you've been dealt, and you try to make the most of it. He's not doing that. Daniel Jones has been given every opportunity to succeed. And I don't want to hear this nonsense from John Mara that they screwed this kid up royally. No, no, no. To some extent, different coordinators and different head coaches here and there, that will screw with a young quarterback, no doubt. But man, how do you explain missing wide open throws or not seeing the field? That's on you, brother. And you're making $160. You're making $160. So I got to sit back and watch Jaden Daniels make throws? I got to watch Bryce Young make throws. Anthony Richardson, when he was healthy, make a couple throws and plays that a 6-year pro should be making. These guys aren't elevating their team. They're not. But you look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, who people thought was going to be a backup, a journeyman quarterback right now, but he's trying. He's willing his team to try to stay in these games, and you have to respect and appreciate that. San Francisco, when they get right, they will be a very good team. And they got back McCaffrey, and now all of a sudden they got a big win. Kansas City. All right, you get the blocked field goal. It's an aberration. You're 9-0, but you're a flawed 9-0, but you're still undefeated. Buffalo, arguably one of the best teams in the NFL. The Eagles yesterday put up 34 against the Cowboys. They could have put up 50. Hurts had a couple bad mistakes, another red zone pick, a fumble. Dallas has no offense. But Philly now at 7-2, 6-1, or 4-1 on the road, they look like a juggernaut. And here's the game that's going to test where we're at with Washington. Thursday Night Football, Washington and the Eagles. If Washington wants to be considered legit, I thought Washington could have really made a statement yesterday if they beat Pittsburgh. I really thought you beat Pittsburgh. And did anyone else notice? That game's in Washington, Landover, Maryland, and it sounded like an away game. Like the Steelers fans just overtook the stadium. But Washington, they cooled off a little bit yesterday. If they beat the Philadelphia Eagles, look, you coaches don't care. You can lose out of conference games. You can't lose divisional games. You can't. You got to win those. You win divisional games, chances are you win 4 or 5 outside that, you're going to win your division. So they're going to be tested on Thursday against the Eagles. That's going to be a hell of a game. And then you look at last night, Detroit, Jared Goff, who I thought going into last night, you still had him in the MVP race, and he might have to have a stretch where he has a month of just red hot football. Okay? He threw 5 picks. But they found a way to win the game. That's coaching. And even with the 5 picks, he still had to convert late in that game. I mean, think about that for a minute. These quarterbacks in the NFL, some of them, they throw a pick and they got droopy dog. They had this I just lost my best friend. I can't do it anymore. That team was down 23-7, and they fought and fought. They scored a touchdown. They had a pick. They punted, scored a touchdown. Then they chipped away. And then, of course, Houston misses a field goal. Detroit gets the ball, and they still got to convert. They had to convert a 3rd and 9 in that drive. And then they won the game late on a field goal, 26-23. They're 8-1, 5-0 on the road. Good teams can make up for mistakes. The really good teams in the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, red zone pick again. It was a great play by the corner or the DB. The fumbles, but they make up for that because they're a good team. They're a good team. They have good talent from top to bottom, both sides of the football. San Francisco, even though their record doesn't reflect it, when they get healthy, they're going to be a good team. Kansas City, really good team. Buffalo, exceptional team. Baltimore, great team. Everything goes hand in hand. 727-858-6650. See what you guys have to say. We got about 20 to play with. You guys can chime in on the conversation. Jerry from Rhode Island, welcome back. You in a league with all the mediocrity this season. A great team could run the table. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, and good to hear from you too, my friend. Thank you. I don't think Kansas City is going to go undefeated. I really don't. But they're still going to make a run here. Joey BQ woke up early on Sunday to watch 2-7 teams playing. Yes, our Giants still suck. Daniel Jones won 60, $88 million guaranteed, failing up. God bless America. Joke. What a joke. Yeah, the Giants. Yeah, 160 plus 40 million a year. That's really bad. Yeah. I text my buddy that too about Shedeur Sanders. I'm not going to go that route just yet. I was going back and forth. Maybe you get a bridge for one more year and then you look at Arch Manning. My buddy texts me and he's like, well, the stars are aligning for it. It could be. It's just bad football. It's bad football. And these owners won't change, Joey. That's the problem. They won't change. Okay? They won't. Dave looks like Angel Martinez behind the glass with when the microphone goes out, just like, what the F? Look on his face. He does. Not you, Angel. Brian Daboll. Like, that's my problem. Stop starting Daniel Jones then. Trevor chimes in. Washington's. See, Trevor is an Eagles fan, and he's a bona fide Washington hater. Washington's going to be humbled a lot going forward. They will get 4 more wins, paper champions. It's nice to be out of the bunker. Enjoy the Indian summer. Yes, the weather is very nice. Let me look at Washington's schedule. Yeah, but 4 more wins still gets them to 10. I'm sorry, gets them to 11. That's pretty impressive. So let's say they lose to your Eagles. That sits them at 7-4. They're going to beat the Cowboys. They're going to beat the Titans. They're going to beat the Saints. That's 10-4 right there. We'll give them that second game. Have them split against Eagles. There's 11 wins right there. And then they got the Falcons and Cowboys. Hold on a second now. They might win. Got to do the liberal arts math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If they go 5-2, that's 12-5. That's a hell of a season, man. That's a hell of a season for Washington. And then conversely, the Eagles have, after Washington, they have the Rams. Not an easy game. Baltimore, not an easy game. By the way, on the road against the Rams, on the road against Baltimore. They've got the Panthers, winnable. The Steelers, that second Washington game, I'm giving them the loss. And then the Cowboys and the Giants. So the Eagles right now are 7-2. They win against the Commanders. They're 8-2. They lose against the Ravens and the Rams. That's 8-5. They beat the Carolina Panthers. That's 9-5. They beat the Steelers. That's 10-5. They lose to Washington. That's 10-6. And then they run the table. Wait, what the frig is my math? That's 18 friggin' games, Rich. Hold on. 7-2, 8-2. I'm going to give them a win Thursday. We'll say for right now. 8-2. They lose to the Rams. 8-3, 8-4, 9-4, 10-4, 10-5, 12-5. So both teams finished 12-5. So basically Thursday, the 2 games against Washington will decide the division. My Washington Commanders that I predicted to win the NFC East, by the way, just throwing it out there. So the 2 games, the divisional games, win your divisional games, you're going to win your division. I mean, for Washington to win 10, 11, 12 games is really remarkable. With a rookie quarterback, I mean, come on, guys. With a rookie quarterback, can we give them some props here? Their win total was 6.5, and they already passed it. And Brian Robinson, I don't know if you guys saw this, the running back who got shot, he was inactive yesterday. I guess he went on X. And he was just basically calling everyone a mother effer because, he doesn't care about your parlay. Come on, dude. You got shot. Humble yourself a little bit. Like, you're really going to worry about what gambling Twitter thinks of you or the fact that, you were inactive, but, whatever. Did you see Deebo? What a punk Deebo Samuel is. Smacking his long snapper and kick it. Really? What are we doing here? That's just, man. You smack me in the helmet like that, crack your back. There was some bad football. Joey D on Facebook chimes in. Q, miss you. Good to hear you back in the saddle, as you like to say. Any thought on the Giants just going right to DeVito right now, letting Locke walk? You release Daniel Jones, and then you trade that draft pick, whether it's 1 or 2. Joey, appreciate it. Well, let me pull up Tankathon right now. If you are interested, here is your 2000, as it stands right now, your 2025 draft order. Jacksonville, number 1. So do we believe they're going to need a quarterback? They pay Trevor Lawrence, so maybe they don't go that route. The Giants are 2-8. They're number 2. Tennessee, Cleveland, and Vegas, they round out the top 5. Giants are going to need a quarterback. Tennessee's going to need a quarterback. Cleveland's going to need a quarterback. Vegas is going to need a quarterback. Miami, New England, the Jets, New Orleans, Carolina. Miami doesn't need a quarterback. New England looks like they have a quarterback. And I got to give the Patriots some credit. They're playing hard football. They're playing tough. Jets are going to need a quarterback. Saints are going to need a quarterback. And we don't know what's going to happen with Carolina and Bryce Young. Point being is, if you kind of come full circle with this, you have to assemble the right roster. We know the quarterback is the most scrutinized, imperative position in all of sports, all of football, but you have to have a quarterback. You have to. You have to have a viable option under center. And those teams that I mentioned, I mean, think about it. The Giants, Tennessee, Cleveland, Vegas, the Jets, New Orleans, they don't have quarterbacks. They don't have quarterbacks. And that sets your franchise back, man. It really does. Right now, I think, and it has nothing to do with tonight's contest, but Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Detroit, I'll throw the Eagles into that mix. They're the best teams right now. Washington, I want to see more body of work because they're new to the party. And then out of the West, we picked Arizona to make the playoffs. And then you have the NFC South. That's a bad loss by Atlanta yesterday. That loss actually helps out Tampa Bay, but that's a really bad loss by Atlanta. Listen, no business beating a team that just fired their head coach. You cannot lose that game against a very bad Saints team. You can't. You just can't. I mean, Kirk Cousins throws for over 300 yards. They run for $187, and they still lost the game. Derek Carr is not good anymore. But again, coaching, quarterback play. That's what it boils down to. And these owners, the ego is so great that they want to allow themselves to be wrong. By the way, early line, look ahead line, Eagles are laying 3 against Washington. So here's what's interesting tonight, Monday Night Football. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Miami and the Rams. Rams are getting 2.5 at home. I'm sure it was talked about earlier today on 102.9 FM, The Game. Miami's got to win, or it's a winless weekend for Florida sports, including college football, which has never occurred before. So Miami's got to win tonight. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I really do. Look, Miami just, unfortunately, Tua banged up, had the injuries, but now you see their offense, what they could do when he's out on the field. I think this will be a high-scoring game. If I had to lean in one direction, I would lean and play the over. It's sitting at 48.5, but I do like the Rams at home. As far as look-ahead line, I mentioned some of these games next week. Eagles, Commanders, Thursday Night Football. Phillies laying 3. For you Jet fans, you are a 3.5-point favorite at home against the Colts. Early opening lines. Bills and Chiefs. Bills at home laying 2.5 against Kansas City. That can be an AFC championship preview. And then the really sucky Cowboys are 7.5-point dogs at home on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys are so bad. I don't feel bad for Cowboys fans, but how about this if you're a Cowboys fan? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prime time games, standalone games. A couple 8 o'clock games and a couple 4:25 windows. It's going to be great when that stadium is empty. It's going to be great every time CBS or Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football pans over to that just absolute prick of an owner, Jerry Jones, and just sees him sulking, and he realizes his big offseason acquisition was Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, that's just Mike McCarthy. This is what you want to look for. Now that we've hit week 10, even from a gambling standpoint, and I'll talk more about this on Back Your Play later in the week. The teams that I mentioned that are mailing it in, if you guys play in-game, live betting or halves, typically the teams that are mailing it in, they just really mail it in second half of games. They might keep the game competitive and close, but then all of a sudden it's business decisions. It's where am I going with the wife? Where am I taking the mistress, the girlfriend, and the wife? Where are we going in January? What trips are we going to? Right? Miss tackling, drop balls. You look for that because it's profitable. The Bears, the Giants, the Jets, Jacksonville. I would even say Indianapolis to some extent. Carolina, you still want to lean them? Have fun. But those are the teams that are basically just starting to tank. And you're going to see, if you're a Giant fan and we are in mid-December, let me paint this ugly picture for you. The Giants are here you go. The Giants are not going to beat Tampa. They're not going to beat Dallas. Maybe they beat the Saints. They're not going to beat the Ravens. Let's say December 15th. That's a 1 o'clock CBS game. That's mid-December, Giant Stadium. They're 3-12. And all of a sudden, it's a 28-6 after 3. And the crowd basically disperses. They leave the stadium. That's when John Mara makes his decision. I'm going to fire this guy. I'm going to fire the head coach. I'm going to fire GM. Because if I said it once over the years, I'll say it one more time. When you have these games and these teams are getting blown out and they're not competitive and they're not even showing up, and the owners sit in the owner's box and they look up and they see no fannies in the seats. They see fans leaving, or they see even worse. I mean, I'm very thankful that the Giants closed the season on the road against Philadelphia, and I'm going to tell you why. I do not want to sit there as the calendar year flips from 2024 to 2025 and have a little hot toddy on January 5th sitting in my chair. If this game was in Giant Stadium, all the friggin' Peckerhead Eagles fans would be, again, in that stadium. And that pisses off an owner. So go down to Philly, get waxed 35-3 that Monday, Black Monday, fire Dable, fire Shane. Let me get set for little St. John's. Let me get set for little Rangers. Let me get set for New York Knicks. Wake me in friggin' April so I can enjoy the baseball season, only to have the friggin' Yankees not hit again or drop fly balls in Game 5 of the World Series. But I'm all right. I'm past all that. I'm okay. I'm okay. I've talked myself off that ledge. We have much to be grateful for, much to be thankful for. But it was bad football around. But as I said, and I say it in tongue in cheek, when you start to have that in some of these stadiums, that's when coaches get fired. All right, you got Monday Night Football up top tonight as we're fast approaching the 5 o'clock hour. Do not forget to download the SR 1029 FM The Game app. Check us out online, SR1029thegame.com, part of the Coastal Sports Network. Is Angel going to be on the air on what? By the way, do you want to shamelessly plug your guest for this week before we get off the air so I can just laugh? Well, are you going to pop yourself in, the Incredible Shrinking Hermano? Do not even gloss over, and I don't want to see any video associated with that show.
First of all, I'm not putting on any video to associate with the show, number one.
Right,
number two
Yeah.
is thanks to all our men and women, as you mentioned here at the top of the hour, to not only who continue to serve, have served, and will always serve our greatest nation in the world, regardless of what people think. And if you don't like the American flag, take yourself off to another country, because that's the way I feel about that. But yes, the shameless plug for those who like to watch 90 Day Fiancé on TLC. Vanya from 90 Day will be on Friday's show. Martinez.
Let me Google. What is it? How do you spell her first name?
Vanja.
Vanaj. Vanya. Vanaj.
No. Vanja.
J. Vanya. Is it? There's a basketball player.
No.
Vanya. 90 Day Fiance. Hold on. 90 Day Fiance. What work does Bozo Vajalek do?
Bojo. So he's he's a semi-pro basketball player.
I wasn't asking to have you answer it. I was reading what I saw on Google. Oh my God. What time is that interview, Angel?
That will probably be on the bottom of the hour at 10:30. We'll start that interview process.
That's gonna be Wednesday.
No, Friday.
Oh, Friday on a football Friday.
See.
All right, we decide to chew up some airtime with Vanya from 98 because you like 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, don't forget, I also had Misha Johnson on, also from 90 Day Fiance, a couple months back.
You had who on?
Misha Johnson. Originally, remember she was from Minnesota, then was in Philly. She was doing Philly.
Wait, she was on that show?
She was Jesus, it's got to be at least like 6 or 7 months ago. She was on the show.
I like Misha Johnson. She's okay with me. She's okay with me. I'm just saying.
No.
I mean, all right, 10:30. I got to set the. See if maybe I'll make Kiki's walk around 10:15 and see if we have a little bit of time, and maybe we'll check in. By the way, I do real quick want to mention. Very good card. I called a couple of weeks ago in Sanford, Florida. They haven't had professional boxing in like 50 something odd years. And then Saturday, I didn't even know there was a Sioux City, Nebraska. I was about to go on the air and say, hey, from Sioux City, Iowa. Had no idea. Sioux City, Nebraska. Guess where the fight was?
When was this? Saturday?
Saturday. The venue where the fight was.
Convention Center?
What?
A convention center?
It was in the historic El Ranchito Mexicano Restaurante.
What the heck?
Yes. It was absurd. It was in a restaurant bar. They had the ring set up. Oh man, it wasn't a bad card. A couple knockouts. It wasn't a bad card, but part of me was thinking, in between the MC or the ring announcer was mentioning, hey, don't forget you get your 3-shot tequilas here and there and blah, blah, blah between rounds. I mean, I'll say this. One of the fights looked like the guy had a couple too many tequilas because he went out in about 30 seconds, but it was a pretty cool venue. But I had no idea there's a Sioux City, Nebraska.
There's a couple of them up there in the Midwest are kind of like a copy paste of another state, pretty much. But so can you throw a burrito if you didn't like it towards the boxers?
No, there was none of that nonsense. It was a really 15th round promotions. They kept it on point. Everyone was in it. They were engaged. They were having fun. There was no tossing of anyone or persons or any type of Mexican dish, burritos, none of that, whatever, arepa, tostanis, none of that kind of stuff. So, all right. So that'll be Friday. It'll be Vanya.
Vanya.
I kind of like Vanya.
I'm pretty sure probably in your native country, it's probably no, it'd be different. It'd be different in Croatia.
Now you could, what you could do? You can get her to do a couple liners for the show.
That can happen. I'll make sure. I'll start with the drive with Q first.
No, you got to start with yours. This is Vanya from 90 Day Fiance. You're watching Martinez and Company, not 90 minutes, but 120.
Jeez. I'll make sure. By the way, Joey B had put a comment up there. I think it was on Friday saying, "Where's Q been?" I think he's on Martha's Vineyard Island with Martha Stewart.
Oh well, no. I mean, would I share time with Martha? Yeah, you guys know how I feel about Martha. Absolutely no. We had Sanford, we had Boston, we had Philly, we had Florida, we had Boston again,
Vegas.
Vegas, you're such an asshole. George, it's not a lie. Jerry, it's not a lie unless you believe it. All right. I know we got to start wrapping it up. Is Lloyd on this evening?
Yes, Lloyd will be on at 8 p.m. with Kevin Midget. Should be on with him tonight from 8 to about 9:15-ish. And I'm pretty sure he's going to love to talk about what the Eagles did.
All right. So basically, you're saying 8:10ish.
Exactly.
We're hoping we're on Wednesday. We'll definitely be back on Friday. We have a couple new drops of BYP Back Your Play from our good friends at Play It Again Sports that we dropped on the YouTube channel. Rich Q on Q. Subscribe, like, comment. As I mentioned, don't forget to also subscribe to Angel's channel, Broad Street South. Follow us on social media as you guys typically do. Good stuff with the comments today. Great to be back in the saddle. We got a bunch of travel coming up with some of the fights as well, but we got some good content. We're going to be talking a little more about over the next week or so. Everyone have a good Sports Monday. Lloyd Vance coming up at 8. Lloyd Vance's Insider Football on 102.9 FM The Game. You can catch Pete Shepard Show Monday to Friday, 7 to 10. Martinez and Company, 10 to 12, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then, of course, The Drive with Q when I'm landed back in Jersey. Again, happy Veterans Day. Angel, thank you for your service. Much appreciated to all the veterans out there. Much appreciate, much love. Certainly, we appreciate everything you guys do, all the men and women. Without your sacrifices, I can't do what I do, and I can't have fun doing it without what you guys have done for the country. So definitely appreciate that. You got Monday Night Football. As I told you, I like the over. And if I had to lean in the direction, I do like the Rams in this one. We will recap everything as a whole, and we'll start to look ahead later on in the week. But for tonight, have a good Sports Monday. Be safe, be sound. Don't forget Pete Shepard, 7 to 10 to start your morning off on a Tuesday. I'm sure he'll recap Monday Night Football, a lot of NBA talk and more NFL talk as well. Later on in the week, we'll do a little college hoops, a little college football, and we'll talk a little boxing. We're trying to line up some guests as well. So with that, have a good Sports Wednesday. As always, be safe, be sound. We will talk to you next time. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.